Next, we have Jesse Harless. Let me share my screen here. Okay, so session 3, we have Jesse Harless, who's going to be talking about from cold showers to F.E.A.R.S, which is a practical toolkit for success in recovery. So before we bring Jesse in, we're going to share a little bit of his work.
Really began in the womb. I actually was sucking my thumb in the womb, and I came out, addicted right away. Even at 9 years old, playing Pop Warner football, being a star athlete, I was still sucking my thumb, but I was hiding it from everyone. So I was already a functioning thumb sucker at a young age. From there, I got into online games and pornography at 11 and 12 years old. I knew I was at the end of the road at 20 years old. The cocaine became a love. I pretty much had like an overdose experience on Oxycontin. I realized holding my pulse that I was gonna die. I didn't die. That's where everything turned around for me, because I had two options. I could continue on the path I was on, which was death, or I could turn everything around and turn the lights on and go all in. So I detoxed, basically just working full time, going to 12 steps groups, meeting my mentor. 13 years now I've been in recovery. My name is Jesse Harless, and I'm one of the countless faces of addiction. My method offers direction and clarity to anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur of their own recovery. Once I was broke from the bondage of addiction and that slavery that I encompassed myself in, my next thing was, well, what's another form of freedom? And for me, it was entrepreneurship. It was creating my own destiny and dream, learning from people around me who have gone before me to do it. I found this methodology, this method called the LEAF method, and it showed me this way that I could take people through this process of rapid change in a short period of time by using generative questions and certain ways of asking those questions. I said, I can just apply this to recovery. And this idea of entrepreneurs in recovery came to me.
Jesse's approach is different because he's actually experienced what the men he is in front of facilitating are currently going through.
All right, guys, I want everyone to close their eyes. So what images give you the greatest sense of hope? What images give you the greatest sense of meaning, of purpose, of fulfillment? What fun are you having? What conversations are you having? Who are you with? That's kind of was the model of what I'm doing today, and now I'm training other people to do this model as well.
Jesse is disrupting the market. We have a lot of businesses, pharmaceutical companies, they don't necessarily want people to get well.
I am a big fan of Jesse's work. I think it's transformational. It's a little disruptive in the sense that it's different, and it's something that not many people are doing. And I wish we had more of it.
It's outrageous, the percentage of people who are relapsing and passing away. We need to do something about what's happening.
Now that we have these tools, I'd say we apply into our lives and to be the best versions of ourselves for ourselves.
Let's use that addictive, that obsessive compulsive behavior in a positive manner to achieve your goals.
When people work on themselves and get in touch with who they are internally, they too can have that same success and recovery that he's had.
You guys are gonna write one strength per stickies.
Hey.
Oh no, if you have 5 strengths, I wanna see 5 sticky notes from you up there.
We pay, Jesse, out of our pocket because we believe in what he does. It's exciting to think about where it's going to go from here, the more that, he just continues to master his craft.
Jesse just has he just has these good ideas, and he has these, it's not like just visualize this and then you're all set with it.
Set a goal, put your mind to it, move your feet, take some action, and anything is possible.
What are you going to do to achieve these goals in 3 years? What's the goal you're going to do today to achieve the future?
Jesse is very passionate. He comes across as very passionate to me about what he does.
He's, giving me the tools now that it's not manageable for me.
I can be along for the ride, but I actually got to drive the car.
We're just talking about our dreams and talking about actually how to make those dreams a reality. I'm just another bozo on the bus.
And Jesse being in recovery and coming out with the stuff that he came out with tonight with the visualization, setting goals, writing it on paper, and it just really hit home to me.
We're all just trying to do the same thing. We're all just trying to do the next right thing.
Your story needs to be heard. It matters.
I'm so grateful to see Jesse and how his facilitation is transforming lives.
What Jesse's doing for the recovery community is deeply impactful.
Jesse's method is exactly what we need to be seeing to help increase positive recovery outcomes.
He's got a secret that he kind of let us in on tonight.
He's stinking awesome. That's how he is. He's Jesse. He's awesome.
This isn't about just getting sober and then going, I guess I'll just, figure something out. No, this is about, okay, now I want to elevate my life that it becomes so good that I don't need to ever think about drugs and alcohol again.
All right. All right. Welcome, brother. That was an amazing video, man. I'm really inspired by what you do. So welcome to our Recovering Me Summit.
Thanks for having me. That was really intense 5 minutes right there. So hopefully everyone's strapped in their seatbelt for that one. That was, yeah, thanks for playing that. I wasn't expected. That was shot 2 years ago, so I almost forgot about that one. Thanks.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I've gone back and looked a lot of the work and the facilitation that you've been doing with the recovery groups all across the US. It's really inspiring what you're doing. So I guess first off, Jesse is a leader in the addiction recovery and mental health space. He's the author of Smash Your Comfort Zones with Cold Showers and the creator of Entrepreneurs in Recovery Workshops. So we saw a little bit of that, which are highly experiential online, in-person workshops to help individuals and organizations discover their inherent ability to increase resilience, harness strengths, amplify appreciation, and create powerful visions. So welcome.
Thanks for having me, Nathan. Appreciate it. This has been amazing. I can't believe you had Julie and then Lauren go before me. I mean, that's just not right. They
tough acts to follow.
Absolutely.
So, and I know you have a new book coming out as well, so I do want to talk about that as we go on. But I wanted to start a little bit about because for people that do donate today and they get the free giveaways, they're going to be getting the Smash Your Comfort Zone and Cold Showers. So one of the first questions that I had was where did that book come from, and what was the intention of that book?
Yeah, so the intention behind the book was I was someone, like Julie, I suffered from severe anxiety. I had panic disorder. So what happened is I found recovery at 22 years old. I was facing federal felonies for my addiction to opioids and cocaine. And I ended up, having to change my life. I really didn't have a choice. If I didn't change my life, I was going to do 7 years in federal prison. And it's not, I didn't want to spend my 20s in prison. So I ended up, doing the next right thing. And to kind of speed up to where I got to the cold showers, that came later on. That came a decade later, a little under a decade later. I found cold showers when a friend of mine came to my house. He's a very intuitive person. And he said to me, hey, let me back up. He knew I suffered from social anxiety. He knew that I had this, even though I was 10 years in recovery or 9 years in recovery, I still suffered from such severe anxiety that there was times I couldn't leave the house to go food shopping at Shaw's. I couldn't even leave the house. Mm-hmm. And I was still suffering from that. And I have a master's in clinical mental health counseling. So I know a thing or two about DBT, CBT, EMDR, name them. And especially medicine to treat it. And I'd been on that for many years. But at this point in my life, my friend said to me, hey, you should try cold showers. and he wasn't even taking cold showers. And I live in New Hampshire, and it was December, and it was 35 degrees out. So I said, "You're crazy. It's not going to happen." And so, but what happened is in that moment, my roommate at the time ran upstairs and took a cold shower, straight cold. And so I decided I would try it. And 2 hours after the cold shower, and I'll tell you, the cold shower was brutal. That first cold shower was really, really hard. And when I went to this, so what happened was 2 hours later, I went to a meeting, and I was in that meeting, I had no anxiety. And it was the first time, and it was a co-ed meeting. And a lot of times in co-ed meetings, I would just feel this sense of anxiety. I couldn't explain it. It was physical, it was mental, it was spiritual. And so I sat in that meeting and I had no anxiety at all. And I said, the only thing I did differently was take a straight cold shower. And so I gave it a 30-day trial. I said, let me do these for 30 days and see what happens with my anxiety. And for that 30 days, my anxiety, not only did it reduce, my confidence increased, my health started to improve, because like most people, I mean, I was a pretty healthy person, but yeah, I get the seasonal cold or that would come along, and the allergies, those were gone. And so I just kept it going. So eventually, after 2 years of straight cold showers, people start asking you, why do you take cold showers? And I would say to them, because it helped with my anxiety. And they had never heard that before. And so you can Google cold showers and find all these things, but there's amazing other benefits that are not so much published. And there is a study actually on reducing depression and anxiety that you can find. It's by Dr. Nikolai Shevchuk. You can actually look at that study. And it's about cold showers. So there actually is peer-reviewed science behind it. But, you know, for me, it was anecdotal. I was experimenting on myself. And that's what I recommend for everyone. Do self-experiments. Try something. You heard something here. We heard amazing things from Lauren today, talking about detoxification and helping to, you know, take zinc or drink more water. Like, these things are game changers. You start to do this every day, eventually you'll start to see results. And that's what happened with cold showers. I just took them every day, and my anxiety, you know, really started to decrease. And I wrote a book about it. And that's the book, Smash Your Comfort Zone with Cold Showers. So I made the title be really obvious what it's about. And it's probably the longest title in history, but it gets to the point, you know.
Yeah. And you know, I think that's so amazing for me in particular, because I also had a lot of time, you know, where I was, you know, in quote unquote sobriety, but I had really a lot of anxiety. And actually, if I look back at my own path, the only time I ever had the relapse and the things that always precipitated the relapse, it was always anxiety. I had such a strong sense of anxiety that I just knew one thing that was reliable always was the alcohol. And before I had some of these other strategies, that's what I knew. And so that's where I went, even though I didn't want to do that. It was not like that's something that I wanted to do. I wasn't seeking it out, but it was always the anxiety. So I think if you can have a practical tool like that, especially something that's free, you just walk into your bathroom and do it, that can get rid of anxiety. It can really help a lot of people. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I want to add to that, cold showers was not the only thing I was doing. Just want to make that clear. So cold showers is a habit that you can stack with other habits. So there's this process called habit stacking. Mm-hmm. And so before I would do the cold showers, I would actually write in a gratitude list. I would actually write in a gratitude journal that I kept in the bathroom. So I had this little journal, it was a little green journal. And before I jumped in the cold shower, I'd actually pull out that journal and I'd write 3 things I'm grateful for. And I did this every day for 2.5 years. So I can actually look back and see all the things I'm grateful for. And you forget very quickly what we're grateful for, because we fall completely into self-doubt all of a sudden, resentment, and we fall back into old behaviors. But a lot of times we look back at our old journals and we look back at the gratitude journals of the journals. And by the way, journaling, I've been doing that for almost 15 years. So I'm going to say that up front. I highly recommend doing journaling. It's one of the most beneficial therapeutic modalities I've ever used. And I've studied, you know, mental health. And so I really strongly recommend that. So stacking habits. So like writing 3 things I'm grateful for before I jumped in the cold shower, and doing some exercise before in the cold shower. You're like, I don't have time for exercise. Yes, you do. You have 5 minutes before you jump in the shower and you don't actually have to jump into the cold shower straight cold. I would highly recommend starting with your normal warm shower, and then end the shower cold for 30 seconds. And you might say, wow, that's good, because that's good for my hair. Now, I don't have hair, but if I had hair, I would take a cold shower, because it's actually good for your hair. It's good for your skin. It's good for your immunity. You want to talk about immunity and immune cells and about mitochondria, like we heard from Lauren. Mitochondrial biogenesis starts to happen with cold showers. And those are the energy. So the mitochondria is the energy. So if you want energy, take a cold shower. So these are things that if you're saying I'm struggling with these things, cold showers is just one tool in the toolkit. We'll talk about a toolkit that I've created too in the book that I'm finishing right now. But that is one habit in the toolkit that you can use to stack with other habits that could be really helpful.
Okay, and so the toolkit F.E.A.R.S? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So before we go there, is there anything else in the cold showers book? Does that talk about journaling as well, and habit stacking?
Yeah, the cold shower book is it starts off with a little bit of my story, and then it goes into all these habits, all these little habits, and they're not in detail. The next book is the details of each one. So that's why I wrote the next book. It just has little pieces of what to do. It's a very short book. You can read it in 45 minutes.
Okay. But it's because, and what I love about a lot of what you're doing is really practical, right? So, I mean, I know that you have a lot of spiritual work and different things that you've done as well. But one of the things that I really appreciate about what you do is like, it's hands-on. Like, this is really practical stuff that you can apply. Okay. So let's just go to the F.E.A.R.S then. So what is F.E.A.R.S? And how was that something that you used on your recovery path, or was it something that emerged out of the work that you were doing with other people, or how did that come about, and what is it? I know it's probably a broad question, but
yes, you're exactly right. So at 22 years old, when I found recovery, I started to do certain processes, and the first thing I did was to focus on my recovery. That's the first thing I did. Recovery became number one. I learned this from my mentors. I learned this from the people around me. They said, if you put recovery number one, you'll never lose it. So I said, okay, the number one thing I need to do is focus on my recovery. Every day, make it a priority. And this is recovery. This is not just for drugs and alcohol. This is for people in mental health recovery, codependent recovery, any recovery, your old thoughts and beliefs that don't serve you anymore recovery. This is universal. So the first thing is to focus on your recovery. And the second thing is, who is going to be on my recovery team? Who am I going to have who's going to have my back when shit is hitting the fan? And I need to reach out to someone that's not going to be affected by what I say. I'm going to say it to them, and that psychological safety is going to be created. I can be vulnerable. I can take risks. So you want to find people that you can put on your recovery team or your recovery tribe or your dream team, whatever you want to call that team. But I have a team of 5 people that no matter what's happening, I can call them and they won't be affected by what I say. They can hold the space for me, create that safety. Because if we're talking about trauma, which we heard today, Peter Levine talks about trauma, but he says, it's the lost connection to our bodies. We've lost connection with our bodies, and it's in our inability to respond to a threat effectively. But he also says trauma is reversible. And part of trauma healing for me is finding safe people to share deep secrets with, stuff that I want to take to the grave, stuff that I deem is weird, stuff that I deem as makes me strange and embarrassing, stuff from childhood. I can share that with these safe people. And that might be a therapist. That might be a spiritual advisor. That could be a healer. That could be your recovery friend. But just find those 5 people. So I don't want to take too long in the F.E.A.R.S, but that's just the F. So focus on your recovery. That's part of it. Then you have E, which is elevate your recovery. It's about elevation. We don't get into recovery just to be surviving. We do it to thrive. I didn't find I was in survival mode my whole life. I'm not looking to get in recovery and now I have to try to survive again. I'm looking to thrive. How do I get to transformation? How do I go from really broken and lost, not to neutral sobriety? It's not about sobriety for me. It's about abundance. How do I get to transformation? I was drinking and using drugs because I was at neutral. I hated sobriety. I needed more. So elevate your recovery is really about finding things that inspire you, watching documentaries that inspire you. Read 5 pages a day of your favorite book, your favorite spiritual book, your favorite recovery book. Just 5 minutes a day or 5 pages a day. Watch a documentary. Watch The Octopus Teacher. Watch Thrive 2, watch Kiss the Ground, watch these films that really uplift your heart. You can feel it. There's no mind involved with this. It's all in the heart. It's a heart feeling. So that's one part of it. Another part is find mentors. And just like your recovery team, I recommend finding 3 to 5 mentors. They're probably already in your life now, and they don't even have to be alive. 2 of my mentors is Wayne Dyer and Louise L. Hay. These are huge mentors of mine. They're not even alive, but they're my mentors because I can access their words in their talks. I can still listen to podcasts with Wayne Dyer. I can watch his videos. I can read his books. And I can listen to his audiobooks. So elevation, or elevate your recovery, is really about how do I elevate myself so that I can live a life of transformation and I can learn from others who are in recovery, who are doing it, who have what I want, right? Attraction, not promotion. I'm attracted to what Nathan has. I'm attracted to what Jason has. So I'm looking at them saying, what are they doing? So elevate your recovery is about that. It's about mentors. It's also about visualization. I am a huge fan of visualization. So if visualization scares you, think it's woo woo, listen, trust me on this one. Visualization will change your life because you're doing it anyways. I'm not even someone who sees images. I actually just feel and sense during visualization. So if you don't see images, good, me either. But I feel and sense into things. So when I set an intention to say, hey, in 2021, 2020 was what a year this was. So in 2021, by December, I want to be experiencing and feeling more joy. I want to be writing, that book will be finished. My first book would be finished. I'm going to be opening up my own sober living residence. I'm going to be, whatever that goal is, visualize it and feel the feeling of that. So visualization is part of Elevate Your Recovery. Do you want me to go through them all? I mean,
Yeah, this is amazing.
All right. So then I'll tell you about Elevate Your Recovery. The final thing is about creating an intention board. Some call it a vision board, but I'm telling you, it works. I've been doing it for 4 years. In my vision board, I look at it and I have to take things off because I'm like, that happened, this happened, this happened. And I'll tell you a quick story about one that happened. So a friend of mine named Hal Elrod, he wrote the book, The Miracle Morning. I cannot recommend a more important book to read as someone in recovery. So The Miracle Morning. And I met Hal and I said, Hal, there should be a book called The Miracle Morning for Addiction Recovery. There should be The Miracle Morning for Addiction Recovery. He says, Jess, that's a good idea. We were thinking about that. And I said, yeah, and me and my best friend should write it. My best friend, Pete, we should write it. And he was like, let me get back to you. So we didn't actually write the book, but the book got written and we're in the book. So vision to reality, that was on my vision board. I had on my vision board, Miracle Morning for Addiction Recovery, and it happened. So even if I didn't write it, that's what the universe wanted. It actually worked out better that I didn't write it, actually, because now my book I'm about to release is actually my own version of that book. So the universe or the creator knows what's best for us. It already knows. We're trying to plan our whole lives out. You know, we just sometimes have to let go and hold our hearts and close our eyes and just breathe and allow what is coming through you, because we don't receive information to the head first. We receive it to the heart first, and the heart talks to the brain more than the brain talks to the heart. And that's science. So a lot of times we just have to kind of tune into that. So this is how I created my intention board or my vision board, is it comes from the heart, not the mind. Okay. So that's Elevate Your Recovery. You guys don't even need to buy the book. I'm just going to give you the whole book right now, I guess. So I just saved you guys $19.99. Okay. So Appreciate Your Recovery is about gratitude journaling. That's number one. Write down your gratitude. You might say, well, I'm pissed off right now. I'm angry. Okay, no worries. Let's get you to calm and neutral. You don't have to get to joy and bliss. Let's get you to calm and neutral. Write down a couple of things that you're happy for. Are you breathing right now? Good. A lot of people are not breathing right now. So go ahead and write down that you're grateful for breathing. So create a gratitude list, could be 3 to 5 things. Then write down affirmations. Now, affirmations are another huge game changer because the way we talk to ourselves sucks. So we want to find affirmations. And I love to create what I call resilience affirmations. Resilience affirmations. Resilience affirmations are not affirmations that you say and you go, I guess I feel okay. They're affirmations that you say and you hit something. You hit a nerve. You can feel it in your central nervous, your autonomic nervous system. It literally gives you this sympathetic jolt where you say something like, no matter how many times I fall, I get back up. When I look deep within, I was born for this shit. So it's stuff like that that really gets you motivated. So you can create those affirmations. And I put that in my book on how to create that. The final part is to journal your story. Your story matters. If you know anything about me, if ever listened to any of my work, I'm always about your story matters. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you don't have a house right now. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you just got done shooting fentanyl for 7 years. I don't care. Your story matters, because that story is going to be a gift and a lighthouse for someone else. Everyone on this call, everyone who listens to this, your story matters. That trauma you had, that trauma is going to be a gift for someone else and how you got through that. So your story matters. So journal your story, write your story out, and then share it with someone on your recovery team. All right, cool. Is this helpful? Is this helpful for everyone?
Yeah.
All right. So here's the next one: resilience in recovery. Resilience. To me, the number one strength of people in mental health and addiction recovery is resilience. It is the number one strength. And it is not this masculine driven thing. It is also a feminine part, because resilience is also about your intuition. And I'll get into that in just a second. But resilience in recovery is about, number one, creating a resilience affirmation. Number two, it's facing fear in recovery. We are riddled with fear. Our whole lives have been riddled with fear. I can remember fear when I was 4 years old, like it was yesterday. I can remember fear when I was 12, 18, 22, 27, and 37 in 2020. Fear is that corroding thread that ripples through our whole life. So facing fear in recovery is amazing when you start to feel into fear and use it as a compass. You start to feel the fear and do it anyway. And that's what this is about, resilience recovery. And it's also about finally trusting your intuition. If my whole book could be summed up to what's the point of my book I wrote, it is my story, but the whole book could be summed up, trust your intuition. That's the whole point of my book, trust your intuition. And so I have experienced so many times when I didn't trust my intuition, and it has cost me everything. It has cost me everything. Literally, I almost went to prison. It has cost me everything. So trusting intuition. And if you're like, well, I don't even know how to do that, what does that mean? Well, I'll tell you this. If you just do this, if you just start to take 5 minutes in the morning to stop and practice heart-focused breathing. We'll do a couple right now to give you an example. So let's do some heart-focused breathing. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to get comfortable. And if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. And if you feel comfortable, put a hand on your heart. And I want you to focus on your heart. And I want you to imagine your breath moving in and out of your heart. Breathing slower and deeper with each breath. Find an easy rhythm that's comfortable. And for the sake of time, I'm going to bring us back now. I'm going to bring us back quickly. But you would do that and continue that breath. Right? That was good, right? We could have kept going, right?
That was awesome.
You continue to do that for the next 5 minutes. If you want to know how to tap into your intuition, practice that breathing, because it's taking you from your head, which is where we spend sometimes our whole life, and it's dropping our focus to our heart. And literally, it's what you focus on grows and expands. So if you're focusing on your heart and your breath, you're moving from here to here, which is what we're trying to do. Trying to get out of the head, come to the heart. And then you're able to then write down what came to you. Maybe you got an intuitive thought. Okay, so that's resilience and recovery. And then finally is self-care recovery. So we're spelling the acronym F.E.A.R.S. You notice how I use a negative connotation, negative word, and spun it to a positive, because F.E.A.R.S is a life-saving tool. So F.E.A.R.S, so the last one is self-care and recovery. Now, self-care and recovery is not, I didn't put it last because it's the last thing you should do. No, self-care could be the most important thing you do, but self-care and recovery, the first thing is about movement. Practice 10 minutes of movement every day, no matter what. If you say, well, I can't practice movement, I have a condition, I have this. Okay, well then clap your hands. Like anything you can do to get, because Lauren was talking about the body. Our lymphatic system has to move. We have to move for our lymphatic system to work. Our heart has a pump. Our blood has a heart that pumps blood. So it moves blood through our bodies to get nutrition we need. Our lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. So we have to move for our lymphatic and our lymph fluids to move for us to stay healthy. If not, we will perish. We have to move. So 10 minutes of movement a day. So self-care, I started with movement, and then rest. I highly recommend getting sleep. Make sure you're getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep or whatever you need, but also rest. If you had a stressful day, how many of you had like 20 stressful days in 2020? Did you have at least 20 stressful days in 2020? So almost everyone raised their hand. So rest. So when you have a stressful day, take 20 minutes or 10 minutes and just lay down, just rest and practice the heart focused breathing. You don't have to take a nap. Just literally just give yourself the permission to sit for 10 to 20 minutes just to rest. Rest is a game changer. We don't hear enough about rest with self-care. And then breathing. So we talked about breathing, so I'll skip that. And here's one that is controversial, but it shouldn't. Prayer. People take prayer and think it's some type of religious dogma. No, it's not. Prayer is one of the most powerful things you can do. There's the lost art of prayer. Prayer can actually be a way to use quantum, just like Lauren talked about, morphogenetic field. You can tune into that field with prayer. And so use prayer as a tool, as a blessing, as something to bless things you're grateful for. And I'm not going to get too deep into it, but prayer is part of it, and prayer is powerful. So if you have some issues around that, no worries. You can read my book. I actually address that whole thing about prayer. And then finally, it's building your self-care routine. So build your self-care routine. I'm going to stop there. That's the overview of the F.E.A.R.S recovery toolkit. And this is 15 years of my life put into a book, because this is what helped me and the people I've taught it to. These are the top things that really helped me become, if you want to call an entrepreneur in recovery, or just someone who's got in long-term recovery, that really, I'm enjoying my life. I'm not going to lie. My life is really good. And it's not because I have all this wealth and I'm just no, it's because I have inner wealth. I practice a lot of, we practice a lot of exercise. I practice inner size a lot. So I do a lot of inner size workouts, and that's how I'm able to, when with this year and all this COVID happening, I'm able to just stand in this place of like, how can I serve, instead of being lost in the fear of what's happening around me.
Wow. That's powerful stuff, brother. I can see why you and Julie get along so well also. That the movement from the head to the heart was such a big part of my personal path. I think I shared a little bit earlier, but when I first got into the recovery, it was like there was this little yellow book called The Way It Goes. I think I can't remember the name of the book now, but it was all 12 steps that you could do in 4 days. And I'm like, perfect, like the fast track version of the steps. I'm like, give me that, I'll get sober in a week, and then I can get back to my life. And that was such a metaphor for the way that I went about it, and it's so funny that you mentioned as well about it's kind of like the visualization aspect, because when I first met Julie, when this whole thing started for me, she had recommended the Ask It, It Is Given by Esther Hicks. And I listened to that audiobook, it was kind of outside of the things that I normally listen to. But I just decided, I was at a place where I was going to follow some outside guidance. And I listened to that book, and that's what really helped me as well. Just like the law of allowing, right? Get myself out of the way and just kind of follow what the guidance was at that time. And it really led me to health coaching. I got out of a toxic business that I was in at that time. And I went in this whole different path. And that just occurred to me when you were sharing about that. So I think that's such a powerful message.
Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And then the other thing that stuck out for me was I really have come to really realize that it's not about alcohol for me. It's not a drinking problem. It's a thinking problem. And what you were saying earlier about having mentors, even if they're not alive, whenever I'm having a really difficult day, whether it's Wayne Dyer or, a lot of these other people that I resonate with, if I just sit down, lay down, do something, find a relaxing place, put the audio on and let them change my thinking, it's like my whole physiological state changes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And someone asked in the chat, what's the name of the new book? The name of the new book is If Not You, Then Who? If not you, then who? No one's coming to save us. It's you. So go ahead and point at your camera, point at you, because you're the one. You're the one that's going to change the world. You're the one that's going to create recovery modalities that are going to change the planet, that are going to create recovery ecosystems for us to heal together. It's us. So that's why it's called If Not You, Then Who? It's because it's us. We're waiting for someone. It's us. So we need to band together in collaborative recovery to make change happen. And so that's why I called it that. And the book is my personal, it's actually a memoir / self-help book. So I went against any type of, that's why I'm self-publishing it, because publishers wouldn't be happy with what I did. But that's okay. I'm a disruptor, as it said in that video. So I follow my inner guidance versus what people tell me to do. And it served me really well once I got healthy, right? Once I got into recovery, then I could start to trust my inner knowing. Before, I ignored my inner knowing, and if I was trusting it, I was like, get me out of this one, please, please, please. And now it's more of like a compass to help me to, okay, how do I feel about this food I'm about to eat? Does this feel good? Okay, I'm going to eat it. Like, I use it for everything.
That's amazing. And so is the book available yet? Can people actually get the book, or you pre-order it, or what?
Not yet. So I'm going to hopefully have the pre-order by January 1st. That's my goal. And when you self-publish books, it's, you have your own deadlines, and that can be really scary. If you have a publisher deadline, like, I have to get it done. But when you have your own, right, we sometimes let our own deadlines, we'll extend my own deadline out. But so the goal is to release it on 1/22/2021. I love numbers and synchronicity. So that's the date, 1/22/2021. And that's the date I plan to release it. So you can check if you want to, you can reach out to me. I think, my email will be put somewhere. Reach out. I'll put you on the first people to know about my book. And yeah, sounds good.
We put the link to your website in there. Is that right?
Yeah. If you go to jesseharless.com, it says recovery facilitation. That's the work I'm doing in recovery. But if you go to jesseharless.com and you go to the bottom of the page and you just put in your email address down there, you'll be added to know all about the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So we'll put that in the chat box as well. Okay, so I guess the last question I had was, what is like one thing that you have learned or taken away from the recovery process that you've gone through, right? You have a long time in recovery that you don't think that you would have learned had you not had to go through the recovery process?
Well, I'll just share with what came up this morning when I came out of my meditation practice. And it's this, that we need to prune our beliefs so that they don't become overgrown. Because a lot of our beliefs in our story, we hold on to like it's the final say. This is the way it's always going to be. And not so much anymore. Not with what we know about epigenetics and neuroscience, and not really. So prune your beliefs so that they don't become overgrown. Be open to all possibilities and trust your innate greatness, because inside you have this divine essence. And because you have that, and because we did talk about the field today, like Lauren talked about, we can tune into that. And that's something I never would have picked up. That's something that took time for me to open up and prune belief systems to be like, wow, there is so much more to this. And it's even backed in science now. So I don't even have to argue with it. And that's the beautiful part. And I think that's the biggest one.
Awesome. And for the people that are maybe a little bit farther along in their recovery or whatever, if they want to just explain briefly about the Entrepreneurs in Recovery and how they can get hooked in with that, what that is.
Yeah, Entrepreneurs in Recovery is a facilitation company I started. So it's called Recovery Facilitation. And if you're interested in becoming a recovery facilitator, meaning you want to facilitate to mental health centers, addiction treatment centers, organizations, companies, groups of any size, online or in person, I have a training company that I train people in specific workshops. So it's very quick training. I train you in these workshops so that you can immediately deliver them to these places and immediately make an impact. Maybe even sober living residences, wherever you want to bring them. So that's the short version of what Entrepreneurs Recovery is.
Okay. Awesome. And any last words of wisdom that you want to share with people?
Well, so there was already so many good things shared today. And I guess I wrote this down after you played the Gabor Mate video. So I just want to say, like, what he says, Gabor Mate says this: don't ask what's wrong. So when you're talking to someone, don't ask what's wrong with you. Ask what happened to you.
I just got, yeah, that just like really, I just got a little moved by that. Yeah. That's amazing, man. Well, I'm so grateful for having you in my life at the moment. I've, just have preparing for this and going through your stuff. It's been such an amazing process, and the stuff that you shared today, I feel incredibly motivated at the moment. So, such a blessing for what you're offering the world and the work that you're doing. So, so a lot of gratitude for you for being here today and sharing your message. And hopefully we'll get to work together again in the future, my friend.
Can I say one thing too? I just
Yeah.
want to say a huge shout out to my brother. He's on this call right now. He's 17 months in recovery now. So huge shout out to Derek, huge shout out to Jason, George, Julie, everyone. So these are like my favorite people in the world. So thank you so much, Nathan, for having me.
Awesome, man. Well, you're very welcome. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.